This is CBN Newswatch.
It is Thursday, April 9th. I'm Ephraim Graham. Thank you so much for joining us. Ahead today, with unemployment rising and concerns of a recession from the coronavirus lockdowns, Congress and the White House are working on ways to get businesses to survive through it all. The hydrochloroquine controversy, the president supports the drug as a treatment. Critics warn about the side effects. We're going to talk about that with our medical reporter, Lori Johnson, and about another possible treatment. Plus, will we give up now shaking hands? That's a question we'll explore. She's 90 years old and came down with the coronavirus. We will hear she is saying that God gave her the strength to recover. And churches across the country will be closed this Easter Sunday, so they're finding new ways to get out the historic Easter message about the resurrection of Jesus Christ. All those stories and more are ahead in this edition of CBN Newswatch. We begin this half hour with the concerns the U.S. is in a recession after government lockdowns to prevent the spread of the coronavirus. The Senate is now working on another small business relief bill, but it may get held up as Democrats push for other virus-related spending. And the president is reportedly expected to unveil a second task force focusing on reopening the economy as more jobless claims are announced today. Gary Lane is on this story.
Business shutdowns causing record numbers of Americans to file unemployment claims. Overall, experts say 50 million American jobs are vulnerable to coronavirus layoffs.
There's no doubt in my mind that we've entered into a recession, an economic contraction, and that we will probably touch back on the highs of unemployment of 10% that we saw during the great financial crisis and recession.
The heavy volume of people filing unemployment claims are overwhelming online government servers. This laid-off nurse practitioner in New York found her online experience frustrating.
It took probably 2 hours for me to actually be able to fill and submit the claim because the website's very slow. It kept on freezing, and crashing.
One solution, people in Hialeah, Florida are submitting claims at this pop-up government drive-through. Meanwhile, in New York, another record coronavirus death toll announced Wednesday with 779 deaths in one day. But there's good news. The infection rate is slowing as some hospitals release more patients than they are admitting. As the curve starts flattening in New York, other potential hotspots are popping up. Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, and Baltimore. Particularly hard hit are African Americans, the disease taking a larger toll in the black community because the underlying medical conditions that make the disease so deadly are more prevalent. An Associated Press analysis shows 42% of victims whose demographic data were shared were black, while blacks make up roughly 21% of the population in those areas.
Health disparities in the minority community, but particularly the African American community, puts them at risk, apart from coronavirus issues, puts them at risk for diseases much more so than the general population.
In one small sign of a return to normalcy, the administration has approved new guidelines, allowing essential workers exposed to the virus to go back to work if they aren't showing any symptoms. In the meantime, coronavirus relief checks will begin hitting American bank accounts just after Easter. This as Congress is negotiating additional funding to provide more paycheck protection loans to small businesses. And the president is expected to announce a second task force aimed at getting the economy back on track. Gary Lane, CBN News.
I want to talk more about some of the health issues surrounding the coronavirus with our medical reporter, Lori Johnson, right now. So the president has talked about hydroxychloroquine as a treatment for the virus. Others, though, are also warning about side effects. How serious are they?
Well, it's really interesting, Ephraim, how hydroxychloroquine has become a political issue because the president has come out so in favor of it. He talks about it all the time. He is so strongly supportive of it that people who don't like the president are thinking, well, if he likes it so much, there must be something wrong with it. So we're seeing a lot of the president's political enemies saying, no, hydroxychloroquine is bad, and here's why. So we really need to get away from all the political nonsense regarding hydroxychloroquine and just look at the facts. And yes, to your point, there are side effects. There are deadly side effects, but also those are very rare. But of course, we really need to look at these. We're talking about things like cramping, loss of peripheral vision, but also more serious heart attacks and death from heart attacks. And we're talking about maybe 10% at most. So here's the issue. And this is why Dr. Fauci and a lot of the other doctors in the United States really want our testing to be done on this, because that's really the only way you know for sure about the side effects and about the dosage. We know that the FDA approved hydroxychloroquine for malaria, for lupus, for rheumatoid arthritis. But this is different, and there could be different reactions from different people. So the good news is there are 4 tests going on right now. These are randomized, controlled studies. They're large, which is great, 3,000 people. We saw the one from France that only had 36 people. They're controlled, which means half of the people don't get it. Right. They're getting a placebo, and nobody knows who's getting it and who isn't. Right. So these are the kinds of rigorous studies we need. And when those are completed, doctors will know for sure. In the meantime, doctors are allowed to prescribe it, and this is something that they need to talk about with their patients. And the doctors are aware of these side effects.
We're also hearing about a potential blood plasma treatment. What is that, and is it effective?
This is also very similar to the hydroxychloroquine issue in that the FDA has said you can go ahead and do this on a compassionate use basis, which means it hasn't been thoroughly vetted, thoroughly studied, but initial reports, anecdotal reports show that it works. And this is something that we've talked about before. When a virus enters our body, our immune system produces antibodies that get rid of the virus. The problem is people who are very sick, who have weakened immune systems, don't produce enough of the antibodies. So basically, when people recover from the virus, they can actually give their antibodies to people who don't have enough of them. And so these tests are going on right now, and it's very exciting. And it's proving to be very helpful for some people in these early stages.
Really quickly before we let you go, Dr. Fauci told the Wall Street Journal he didn't think we should ever shake hands again. Right. Why do you think he said that?
Because he's a doctor. If doctors ruled the world, it would be a very different world. President Trump said, half jokingly the other day, if the doctors had their way, we would stay under lockdown for 2 years, which is true. And shaking hands is a great way to transmit viruses. And Dr. Fauci and other health professionals say, hey, we should just from now on stop doing it, because not only for the coronavirus, but for the flu, which we've talked about so often, tens of thousands of people die from it. And President Trump said, hey, I used to never, he's a germaphobe, by the way. He used to never shake hands before he became president and then felt obligated to do it. But there are a lot of people saying, hey, let's just get rid of shaking hands forever, never do it again, which is a little strange, but I'm in favor of it. Maybe we should go to bowing like the Asian. I don't know, but we'll see. I think the world is going to be a very different place even after we have a vaccine and the coronavirus scare has passed.
Yeah, I think that is absolutely true. Thank you so much, Lori. Much appreciated. Want to remind you to stay with us for the latest on the coronavirus. We're providing updates on the CBN News Channel and, of course, always at cbnnews.com. Coming up, why proper testing to find out who has the coronavirus should be so helpful to reopening our economy. We're going to hear from a former top official at the Food and Drug Administration who says it would help to get many workers out on the front lines and out of harm's way.
If you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time, keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
I think as a father, it's my job, to lead. Just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30. on the CBN News Channel.
Orphans Promise is committed to loving and serving at-risk children, to helping keep families together, and to creating opportunities for strong and sustainable communities around the world. We're working in over 60 countries around the world, and with your help, we can do even more. There's an old African proverb I love that says, if you want to run fast, run alone. But if you want to run far, run together. At Orphans Promise, we want to run far so we can touch the lives of as many orphaned and vulnerable children as possible. But we don't want to go alone. We're out to change the world, one child, one family, one community at a time. Will you join us?
Welcome back. Former President Barack Obama says a robust system of testing and monitoring for COVID-19 must be implemented if America is to reopen its economy. Just last week, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration authorized testing for COVID-19 antibodies. On this week's episode of The Global Lane, former FDA Associate Commissioner Peter Pitt says antibody testing will help get many workers on the front line on the COVID-19 pandemic out of harm's way.
The FDA has granted an emergency use exemption for a new test to see whether somebody's already had COVID-19 virus, see whether they've got what's called convalescent plasma antibodies. And the reason that's so crucial is we need to identify who in the community of our town, city, state, region, nation, has had the disease and come through the tunnel to the other end. Those people may be immune, and we want to be sure that if they're doctors and nurses, hospital technicians, firefighters, police officers, those are the guys on the front lines. And if they have already had the virus, they're safer than almost everybody else. So by identifying them, we can get everybody else who has to be outside doing their job out of harm's way. And I suspect that also goes for people, for example, that are stocking our supermarket shelves. We need to make sure those people, these healthcare heroes, know whether they're safe so we can make sure that we're doing the right thing.
And I understand some people may have had the virus and not even know it. Is that true?
Yes, between 25 and 50% of people that have the virus have no symptoms. They're asymptomatic. And that's another reason why masks are so important, because we don't know who is sick, who has been sick. So it's another protective mechanism. But it also tells us that we need to test, see who's already come through the tunnel, who's had the virus, so we know how to deal with that. Now, for example, here in New York, we were the epicenter early in the curve. So we're probably going to have more people who have those convalescent antibodies than other places, say in the South or the Midwest or even the West Coast. So New York conceivably could get back to almost normal activities sooner than other places. But that's really a question of data, and that's why it's so important to collect this information.
And the FDA approved prescribing hydroxychloroquine for use as treatment in the hospital. How about for treatment at home for people diagnosed with COVID-19? That might prevent hospitalizations. What do you think? Shouldn't that be allowed?
Well, I guess another important finesse here is that it hasn't been approved for use. It's been given an emergency exemption for physicians to use as they see fit. Now, chloroquine is used for a variety of things, most especially treating lupus and rheumatoid arthritis on a chronic basis. So we don't want to create shortages. And people should, of course, never self-medicate or buy medicines on the internet. Most people that get the virus, 85%, really all they need to do is stay home, drink plenty of fluids, and get lots of rest. They'll feel terrible, and then they'll get over the virus. The medicines really treat the severity of the symptoms and potentially make the duration of the virus a little bit shorter. And those need to be reserved for people who are very sick, in the hospital, pre-existing conditions, older. We don't want everybody using it. We want to make sure that the medicine's available for those who need it the most.
And you recently wrote an opinion piece talking about the record-breaking pace that pharmaceutical companies have developed promising treatments for vaccines for this virus, yet it seems we may be 12, 18 months off from an approved vaccine. Can that be fast-tracked? Your thoughts?
Well, my information tells me we'll see a vaccine between 10 and 12 months, and that's because a variety of companies all around the world, but largely in the U.S., are devoting tremendous resources to getting the job done quickly. So the more shots on goal, the more likely we are to succeed. I think the message here is that when government and the private sector work as allies rather than adversaries, and politicians keep their mouths shut relative to their politicking against quote unquote big pharma, we can get a lot done. Together we can get a lot done. I'm very optimistic.
And what has impressed you the most on that cooperation?
I think what impresses me the most, believe it or not, is that big pharma hasn't seen fit to brag on itself. They're too busy getting the job done. And to the president's credit, he's really given credit to the pharmaceutical industry for getting the job done. And I think when you tone down the rhetoric, that's been the most exciting thing for me. We're really keeping our eye on the prize, and we're now realizing it's not time to fix the blame, it's time to fix the problem.
And of course, the FDA is Food and Drug Administration, but what about food? The food supply. Farmers are suffering right now, so are some of the truckers. There are concerns about keeping food safe in transport and at the stores. There's also concern about possible food supply shortages even after this pandemic has ended. Are there good reasons for concern?
I think we need to be concerned about understanding kind of the industrial health logistics situation, whether it's food, whether it's protective masks, gowns, and gloves. We have to learn from the Chinese and European experience that on the one hand, we have to focus on medical and scientific issues, but we can't ignore logistics. Ventilators is a good example of that. We have to ensure that what is needed, whether it's medical supplies or food, gets to where it needs to be, and so that people don't suffer shortages. But that also means we have to avoid, the inclination to hoard. Just as we control social distancing and sheltering in place, so too we can control inopportune hoarding.
And you can see that full interview and other important stories on the Global Lane this evening at 9:30 Eastern. You can find that on the CBN News Channel. Still ahead, even though times are tough for people across the country right now, there are still positive stories, including how God is at work in many lives, including a 90-year-old woman who came down with the coronavirus but says God gave her the strength to beat it. We have a full story when we come back. Stay with us.
Daddy?
Yeah, buddy?
How many nickels are in a dollar?
There are 20 nickels in a dollar.
How do birds fly? Does milk really make my bones stronger?
Yeah.
Daddy, when we die, will we go to heaven?
Do you have the answer to life's biggest question? Call the 700 Club. We'll help you find answers to the important questions life brings your way.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Perlmutter, board-certified neurologist and #1 New York Times bestselling author. Wouldn't it be great to boost your energy, eliminate brain fog, and even reverse brain disease? Well, you can, and I'm going to show you how, along with some of the world's most well-respected brain experts in this DVD, Protect Your Brain.
Get Protect Your Brain, a free DVD only from the Christian Broadcasting Network, featuring experts on the cutting edge of neuroscience and brain health.
No matter how many times you've failed in the past, you really can do this.
In Protect Your Brain, you'll discover simple strategies to keep your brain young and healthy. Improve your memory. Discover the gut-brain connection. In Protect Your Brain, get your free copy at cbn.com or call 1-800-700-7000.
If you want to improve the quality of your life, get the DVD Protect Your Brain and get it today.
During these difficult days, there are still stories of hope and survival, like the 90-year-old grandmother who contracted COVID-19 in Washington in that nursing home and now testifies God gave her the strength to beat the virus. Caitlin Burke brings us the story.
This suburban nursing home in Kirkland, Washington, made headlines as the center of the country's first deadly outbreak of COVID-19. Since the first positive test at the Life Care Center on February 28th, the virus spread to nearly 2/3 of its population. Geneva Wood spent much of the winter there, recovering from a stroke. Just days before she was supposed to go home, COVID-19 put the facility on lockdown. 3 days later, Wood spiked a fever.
I didn't know that I had the virus until I had the virus.
I had no sense of it before.
While other news outlets have talked about the 90-year-old's love for her family, spunky spirit, and the amazing fight she put up, Wood says it's her faith that is the most important part of this story.
Hadn't it been my faith in God and my family and their prayers and all of their families and the church and everything, and just the faith and prayers pull me through.
Largely kept in isolation, Wood says God was her only companion. She specifically remembers one night when she wasn't sure if she would survive until morning.
I could feel God's presence. His hands were on my body, and I could feel his presence. That I wake up and I could feel these hands. And I went back to sleep. And through the night, as I wake up, I couldn't see his face, but I could feel his hands. And I knew he was with me. And I made it through the night. Until you felt the God's presence and his hands on you, it's something else. And if it hadn't have been for him, I couldn't have done it. And I wasn't alone because he was with me all the time.
Wood also remembers one special doctor. He brought her a Bible and spent time each day reading her favorite scriptures.
At first off, I said Psalms 23, but he would read to me every morning.
Wood's family calls her recovery miraculous. 19 days after entering the hospital, she was sent home, coronavirus-free. Now she has some advice for everyone else battling the virus.
Don't give up hope. God is always there. And put your trust in him and lean on him and give your life to him, and you'll make it. But you got to not give up hope and fight.
Caitlin Burke, CBN News.
Coming up, churches across the country will not be meeting on this Easter Sunday, but they're still getting ready in new and unique ways and preparing to allow everyone they know to hear the message and that it remains the same. Your salvation comes through the resurrection of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. We're going to have that story when we come back. Stay with us.
I am Region's first ROTC graduate student.
Meet the pastors who are preaching the gospel in a fresh, fearless way. I'm Roberto Torres-Cedillo. Join me each week for Next Gen Voices. And watch God transform a generation.
How'd you like to get a redo on your health, on your body, on your arteries, so you could have the energy you had 20 years ago? The great news is you can. I'm Dr. Mike Roizen, chair of the Wellness Institute at the Cleveland Clinic. I've written 4 New York Times bestsellers. But even better than having to read all that, you can listen to this DVD and watch it. Protect your heart? Yes, you can. Here's how.
Go to CBN.com or call 1-800-700-7000 for your free copy of Protect Your Heart. Let the medical experts show you their new discoveries on how to avoid heart disease and even reverse it. Easy steps to uncover the hidden dangers in your medicine cabinet, reduce stress, and get a complete do-over for your health. Call 1-800-700-7000. That's 1-800-700-7000. Or go to CBN.com to claim your free copy of Protect Your Heart.
Get the top political news and analysis from Washington on Faith Nation, tonight at 6 Eastern,
only on the CBN News Channel.
This year's Easter celebrations will look very different as churches remain closed due to the coronavirus pandemic. As Charlene Aaron now shows us, many are making Holy Week in new and innovative ways.
According to Lifeway research, half of the nation's churches have known for weeks they would not be holding traditional Easter services. That's why pastors are preparing to share the gospel like never before. From online services to virtual Easter plays, in the age of COVID-19, Easter just won't be the same. In Fayetteville, North Carolina, Snyder Memorial Baptist Church is taking a drive-through approach, featuring the Stations of the Cross depicting the day of Jesus' crucifixion.
It will definitely be something they will never forget.
Susie Reeder says people will receive a map of the exhibits, as well as communion elements, all while practicing social distancing by staying inside their vehicles.
The only time they will have to put their window down is to get the guide and the map. So we're going to take them through the far parking lot, and you would see Jesus walking with the cross on his back. Wow. And so carrying the cross. And then that would end at the end of that parking lot where we have a big cross already. And so that's where we're going to suggest they stop a second and have communion there in front of the cross.
Tate Springs Baptist Church in Arlington, Texas, is putting on a virtual Easter egg hunt using the 3D Minecraft video game.
A lot of kids play that, and it's a game my kids played when they were younger. So I was familiar with it, and I thought, man, we could get kids together in there and do all kinds of things, including an Easter egg hunt.
Church staff hopes it will keep kids engaged while out of school.
Kids are going to be able to come in. They're going to be able to grab Easter eggs and fill their entire Minecraft inventory with Easter eggs, but there's also games for them to play.
Churches are also using Holy Week as a time to serve their communities. Some 100 churches are taking part in a nationwide effort to deliver Bibles via their church parking lots. Each Bible will be marked with the Easter story. Tom Schultz, president of Group Publishing, says the inspiration for the idea came from seeing people seek spiritual guidance during this uncertain time. He encourages people to stay safe and meet the risen Christ in Scripture without even leaving your car. In the end, church leaders say while methods may have changed, the message remains the same.
What Easter means is that we all have hope, that there is hope for our lives, that Christ gives us salvation, and through his resurrection, we have the most wonderful thing we could ever celebrate, and that is life everlasting with him.
Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Time now for your Thursday Thankful, and I hope you will join me in this prayer of gratitude. Father, thank you for giving me life through the death and resurrection of your Son. In this season, resurrect in me the dreams, visions, and passions I have allowed to die. You are the giver of life. And to that prayer, I encourage you to make today a thankful Thursday. That will do it for this edition of CBN Newswatch. Remember, you can always find more of our news programs on the CBN News Channel. You can also find them anytime online at cbnnews.com. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can email us at the address there on your screen, newswatch@cbn.com. You can also reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hope you'll join us again right here next time. Again, I encourage you to make today a thankful Thursday. We'll see you right back here same time tomorrow. Goodbye, everybody, and God bless you.